Well, it's time for me to catch up on, movie and TV news or rumors. Well, this is all news, really. It's all confirmed. So right off the bat, we know who our Green Lanterns will be for the Lantern series for the DCU. So Aaron Pierre has beat out the other candidates that were said to be in the running. And so I guess this is kind of who you'll be seeing playing Jon Stewart. And, of course, going forward, as I suspect, and I think the age for casting of Hal Jordan with Kyle Chandler pretty much concludes this, that basically Aaron Pierre will be the main Green Lantern of the DCU going forward, and whatever Justice League film they want to get to eventually, it's going to be him on the team. And as for Hal Jordan, well, you're just not going to get very many Hal Jordan stories adapted for film or television. So unless they do something where instead of dying, he disappears or something, and then maybe he can come back later for something else. But as far as the Hal Jordan version of Green Lantern, even though he'll be a part of this series and a big part of it, you're not going to get those unless there's some flashback scenes in the series about his past and stuff like that. But that would be about it. And I doubt it, because it sounds like it's very much a show stripped down to be on the cheap. Because they're going to be on Earth the whole time. They're space cops, but So, but it's the situation they're in and what have you. But for a long time, there's been this story of the buddy cop template for a Green Lantern film, now series, and I think that's pretty much stayed the same. But that's very basic as to what the overall plot is. And James Gunn has alluded to that it extends to the overall threat that the DCU will face at some point, which I suspect will be how they get to their Justice League, a la Avengers from the MCU, stuff like that. So there you go. It's Aaron Pierre will be Jon Stewart, and the main Green Lantern. The Guy Gardner will be the first Green Lantern you see in the Superman movie. So there's that. So he'll be around, I suspect. But as far as the three of them, I don't think we'll be seeing much of Hal Jordan by the end of this series. I could be wrong, but that's what I suspect. As for Jon Stewart has, like I have alluded to before in other stories on this, has his own comic book adventures and stuff that they should draw upon and not adapt him to Hal Jordan. You're going to miss out on a lot of the back and forth between Hal Jordan and Sinestro. So they're going to put Sinestro in there, which he is, he's a former Green Lantern and all that. But that relationship between him and Jordan is between him and Jordan, If they're going to cast him as well and have him be a part of this series here and there, and at least give some of that, I guess, that can satisfy it to some extent. But really, there's elements of Jon Stewart's own story that should be the focus on him, provided what vehicle they want to put him in. If he's just going to be this guy who will be a part of the Justice League films and that sort of thing, or if he'll get a Green Lantern film or a season 2 of Lanterns, where maybe he'll be teaching some new Lantern like Jordan did for him and that sort of thing. But unfortunately, a lot of classic Lantern stories just not going to make it, and even if you try to shoehorn it together, it's not going to be interested in that. Jon Stewart himself has his own stories, and the most powerful one, in my opinion, came out of the Cosmic Odyssey story. If they could adapt that in some form or fashion, that would be really cool. But I don't see that happening, because, at least not in this series, because it's on the cheap, and the Cosmic Odyssey would be a big outer space sci-fi spectacular type thing. So they got to make money off of this, and maybe they'll get there. But anyway, Aaron Pierre, I'm not familiar with his work, but they've picked him, and he'll be John Stewart, and again, probably the main Green Lantern of the DCU. Meanwhile, the DCU hinges on one film. If this film flops big, or just flops really at this point, the DCU is pretty much over before it began. Now, projects in there like the Lanterns thing would still come out, but it would just sort of be something dumped on Max. And I guess the Supergirl movie would continue, because that is in pre-production. Everything else is just announcements. But anyway, the only thing worthy of note is, well, this is kind of the main image. And of course, there's one on Instagram where the Earth is spinning, and it's just, hey, it's a cute scene of Superman and his dog Crypto sitting on the moon, looking at the Earth. Of course, he's going to need his cape. Crypto had a cape, you know. But James Gunn based his look on his own dog and that sort of thing. I mean, all right. I mean, doesn't you know, the dog who played Crypto? I don't know if that actor is available in the Titans show. One of the Titans was a crappy show, but every now and then there was good stuff. The guy that they cast to be Nightwing is probably the best guy to play Dick Grayson ever, but he didn't have any material to work with, so it doesn't matter. But a couple of episodes were okay, and probably their best was an episode for the Connor Kent Superboy that they did, who was paired with Crypto the dog, and that one was really good. It was kind of his... It could have used it as a spin-off pilot for his own series, but they didn't have the money and the wherewithal to continue that. And considering where the writing went, it wouldn't have worked anyway. It was too bad, because it had some cool moments, and when they were battling some criminals, and Superboy told Crypto, "Speak," and the dog would bark his sonic bark and knock all the criminals down like bowling pins. See, stuff like that. It's cool. But it was short-lived, a very brief dose of that. And, of course, it was over, and Titans was a failure. But elements of that could work, and we'll see how that plays out. But, of course, none of this matters if this movie bombs. And if it does, there's no, well, maybe we can try later. We'll see how the Lanterns does. No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the Lanterns will get released, but that'll be it. I'll have to try something else. Yeah. But that's where they are, you know? Yeah. Because, you know, a lot of dumb stuff happened before, and so, yeah. Well, good luck. Meanwhile, over at the MCU, well, a few more looks. Of course, we've seen this image of Red Hulk, but also Herbie. Let's see. Cosmic Book News has got this. Oh, and here's a little image of their current Marvel. That's a lot of the comic book stuff, but then here's... I'm not going to blow it. Hey, look, it's Agatha. Who? Yeah, you know, that show. Oh, you don't? Okay, never mind. So anyway, there's Herbie. That's kind of what it'll look like. Okay, but see, that's a close-up on the image. There he is. Yeah. And then, of course, Red Hulk. Oh, look, it's Harrison Ford. Uh-oh, he spoiled that one. Apparently, there's barely 5 minutes of footage of him as the Red Hulk in the movie. A movie that has been technically shot twice. And of course, there's probably more scenes added in to where you could almost say it was shot 3 times, you know. And more leaks or test screenings come out. It doesn't sound good at all. For the most part, a lot of it is elements that should have been in a Hulk movie. But it's going to be this Captain Falcon movie, you know. So they just got to grit their teeth and get through it. And after that is Thunderbolts, which I've seen a couple of people saying they've been hearing things. It's not that bad, which it can't just be not that bad. You got to be, you know, really good to come back from where they are. And they got a boost out of Deadpool, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot. So I think this one's not going to do well. And then Thunderbolts, which no one knows anything about. I imagine there will be a lead-in and a setup at the end of this movie for that one. But, yeah. So that even if it's all right, you know, depending on how much money they spend. I haven't heard anything about reshoots on that one. So if they kept the cost down, it's a loss they're going to take on the amount of money they've already spent, which makes it impossible for them to recoup it at this point. Then Thunderbolts can't really do much for them, you know. Oh well. Meanwhile, on their streaming DP platform, here's a little something. Just they're displaying the costumes from the Daredevil show, and I've already seen it behind the scenes shots and whatnot. But you know, there you go. And it's it's mostly more red than the Netflix one, but kind of the same idea. The mask is pretty much the same thing, and so there he is. That'll be the suit he will wear in it. They put Wilson Fisk's suit up. I don't know. It's like you're shopping at a store and there's the mannequin wearing it. And another little image here of the stunt double. There's the suit, and I've seen these before. So there you go. Hearing things about it that it's supposed to be good and brutal and all that stuff, but not sure how much of that will really follow the Born Again storyline. But again, it's like, even if it's really good, I don't know that it does much for them when the movies are tanking. Because as far as the streaming platforms go, you've got the audience you've got. It doesn't seem to grow. In fact, it seems to shrink. So I don't, even a really great show might not do much for them. Might want to license it out, or hurry up and go back to Blu-rays and put that out there and maybe recoup something there, But hopefully it's good, because as far as television goes, or streaming shows, or however you want to put it, when it comes to superheroes, Daredevil is easily, the Netflix series, especially those first 2 seasons, was the best it's ever been. There's been a couple of runner-ups to it. They got close, but really Daredevil was the best. And if they can somehow magically achieve that level of excellence, then they'd really have something. But the problem is the nature of streaming as it is, and what DP has already done to itself. It's quite a huge Mount Everest hill to climb for them, and that's unfortunate for the brand, but it's because it's no fault of their own as far as Daredevil goes, but it's where they are. Meanwhile, on a brand that's been dead for quite a while now, just a zombie facsimile that wanders about. So, of course, the second season for the Disney Bad Wolf iteration of Doctor Who was never in doubt, because they shot it back to back. Really, they shot enough episodes for 1 season and split it in 2, and that sort of thing. The idea that the second season, having been done in conjunction with the first all at once, is going to somehow improve and be better. It's a little late for that, so it'll probably be more of the same of the crap that this first season of Doctor Who was. So the third season seems unlikely. I mean, it doesn't logically make any sense, since the first 2 will have bombed so badly. And but that's just, well, hey, that means it wouldn't be on Disney, but BBC could renew it. Well, unless there's some sugar daddy who wants to fund it, I don't see the possibilities there, because even Russell T Davies admitted that if they didn't have the Disney deal, none of this would have happened. There would have been no Doctor Who. Jodie would have been the end of it. So, based on the performance coming out of this, it's just not in the cards. I mean, before Shooty even gets in the TARDIS, you destroyed it with what they did with David Tennant and all that, and those crappy specials. Good Lord. You know? And then, it's just, a lot of the decisions don't make any sense. Instead of just Shooty being the next regeneration, they do that bi-generation crap, which essentially means he's not even the Doctor. He's the Doctor's clone or his son, or, you know. The real Doctor's sitting on Donna's sofa watching TV, I guess. Probably not this. But anyway, some hope happened when, of course, Shooty got what was going to appear, or did appear, on the Graham Norton show. And they released that he said that they were going to do a third season. So it was happening. And then when you get to the actual episode, well, it was cut to where he doesn't say that. And so then it's like, oh, what happened here? Because the BBC doesn't want anyone saying that, because it's not really in the cards, or they quite can't say it just yet. Primarily because I believe there was that Russell T Davies had suggested that depending on the performance of the second season, Disney might go ahead and agree to a third season, probably with a much smaller budget, I would imagine. But the odds of that happening, probably not very great, unless, boy, there's some brilliant stuff in that third season, but that seems unlikely. There it is. Yeah, Russell T Davies. The decision to commission season 3 won't be made until after season 2 is transmitted. And that's always been the deal since the start. Well, yeah, it makes sense. It's like, look, we already paid for the first 2 in advance anyway, so we're going to go ahead and put that out there, despite how bad the first season did. But, of course, season 2 knocks it out of the park, then, yeah, you'll get a season 3. It would make sense. But, yeah, it's just really been bad. And it's unfortunate. The necessary elements you needed to right the ship for Doctor Who were there. You didn't do it. So, and as mad as people get at Shooty and a lot of his dumb comments and all that stuff, he's not doing himself any favors with that crap. He never really got a chance to play the character. You know, when it's that weird bi-generation stuff, even narratively speaking, he's robbed of the role. Plus, they write his character, he just cries, and really, when you look at all those stories he did, the Doctor doesn't really do anything. So, yeah, I see no hope for this, but, you know, whatever. So finally, you know, it's October, you want to see horror movies because it's almost Halloween. And I got a sequel to Smile, which I did like. That was a creepy, scary movie. It was interesting. But you know, they said, well, it's definitely going to be a sequel because it was successful and all that. And so I thought, yeah. But the problem is with something like that is that it would just be a repeat of what the first one did. So what they're going to do here is they've got this Lady Gaga type character, and now she's the one who gets chased by this smiling entity, this demon, you know. But it would be the same thing. It's just, well, you know, she's famous and she does all this, so it'd be very different from the other character. But that would be the only difference. If it's just the same thing where it gets weirder and weirder, and every time she turns around, the monster's after her and all that. That's not really doing much. I suppose they could delve more into and create more of the lore about what this entity is and that sort of thing. And there was some of that in the original movie. It didn't quite work out. Spoiler for the heroine. But here, maybe she'll get more information about what to do. So beyond anything adding more to the lore and branching out so they can have a new franchise, not certain about this. So they've had some Rotten Tomatoes, and the critics have looked at it. So overall, Smile 2 is being seen as a strong sequel, with a current Rotten Tomatoes score of 84%, with the first 38 reviews suggesting that while it may not be universally loved, it hits the mark for most horror fans and critics alike. Naomi Scott's performance in particular seems to be a key factor in its success. For comparison, the first Smile, released in 2022, has an 80% Rotten Tomatoes score from the critics, so it seems the sequel indeed might be an improvement. Smile 2 gets released on October 18th. That's today while I'm taping this, so you can go check it out. I don't know when I'll get a chance to see it. I will see it. And you can see what you think. Hopefully it's good. I'm dubious about sequels because they usually don't, but if it just gives you a good time, that's good enough, But from the trailers, it's just more of the same, but in a different locale, a different angle to it, a different character, And if you come up with, hey, different ways in which the entity attacks her than attacked the other woman in the previous movie, and that kind of thing. Yeah, fine, but that's not really enough. So if it expands on the lore, creates more of a narrative, and that sort of thing, then okay. Odds are this girl will survive the film, because that'll make it different from the last one, spoiler. Or something of that nature, but you really need to do more than that. So, yeah, look, I'm pessimistic, but maybe it'll do all right. And doing all right, I think it has a shot to do that, and it'll probably do okay, even if I don't think it's that great, that kind of thing. But it'll do better than Joker 2, I imagine. I mean, Terrifier 3 beat it. So, look at that. Look on the bright side, Put a smile on your face. All right, you're all caught up. We'll do it again soon.